Howdy, cowboys and cowgirls. Mosey on over to our virtual campfire for a rootin'-tootin' tale of the Wild West, with a dash of melancholy. Today, we're hitching our wagons to the cast of Rio Bravo, a 1959 classic that etched its name in movie history forever. But what became of the other brave buckaroos who faced down danger in this dusty frontier town? Join me as we explore the lives, and sadly, the untimely demises of the Rio Bravo cast. Did a Western curse claim them, or was it just fate's cruel hand? Let's saddle up and find out. John Wayne as Sheriff John T. Chance. In the film, John Wayne portrays the hardened yet principled Sheriff Chance of the small Texas town of Rio Bravo. The story intensifies when wealthy rancher Nathan Burdett rides into town to free his outlaw brother Joe from jail. Chance finds himself outnumbered as Burdett arrives with a formidable force of gunfighters. Despite the overwhelming odds, Chance stands his ground and gathers a ragtag group of allies to defend the town. As a token of gratitude to Coach Jones, who had provided silent Western film star Tom Mix with tickets to USC games, director John Ford and Mix offered Wayne a job as a prop boy and extra. Wayne attributed his distinctive walk, talk, and persona to his acquaintance with Wyatt Earp, a close friend of Tom Mix. Wayne's career progressed as he moved on from prop work to acting, and he established a lasting friendship with director John Ford, who provided him with many roles. During this period, Wayne had a minor uncredited role as a guard in the 1926 film Bartolus the Magnificent. He also showcased his athletic skills, appearing with his USC teammates in football-themed films such as Brown of Harvard, 1926, The Dropkick, 1927, Salute, 1929, and Maker of Men, filmed in 1930 and released in 1931. In 1976, Wayne took on the role of a lifetime in Don Siegel's The Shootist, sharing the screen with Lauren Bacall, Ron Howard, and James Stewart. Playing the main character, J.B. Books, battling cancer, marked Wayne's final cinematic appearance, as he himself succumbed to the same disease 3 years later. The film shares plot similarities with The Gunfighter, released nearly 30 years earlier, a role that Wayne had desired but ultimately turned down. The Shootist garnered positive reviews and was a commercial success, grossing $13,406,138 domestically with approximately $6 million in U.S. theatrical rentals. The film received critical acclaim, being named one of the 10 best films of 1976 by the National Board of Review. Renowned film critic Roger Ebert of the Chicago Sun-Times ranked The Shootist as the 10th best film of 1976. The film also received nominations for prestigious awards, including the Oscars, Golden Globes, BAFTA Film Awards, and Writers Guild of America Awards. Despite enrolling in a cancer vaccine study in an attempt to fight the disease, Wayne lost his battle with stomach cancer on June 11, 1979, at the age of 72 in Los Angeles. Dean Martin as Dude. Though Dean Martin wasn't initially a Hollywood darling, his talent caught the eye of studios like MGM and Columbia. A fated meeting at a New York hotel with comedian Jerry Lewis in 1944 sparked a legendary partnership. Lewis tells the story of how Martin, impressed by his act, walked right up and said, "Hey, you're a riot." Martin's first attempt at flying solo on the silver screen with 10,000 bedrooms, 1957, unfortunately belly-flopped at the box office. Even though his song Volare soared up the charts, the rise of rock and roll meant the days of the smooth-talking crooner were fading fast. Martin craved a shot at serious acting, something more than just slapstick comedy. He took a pay cut to land a role alongside Marlon Brando and Montgomery Clift in the war drama The Young Lions, 1958. In 1965, Martin landed his own primetime gig with The Dean Martin Show, a comedy variety program that ran for nearly a decade. He even snagged a Golden Globe for Best Actor and received nominations for several years after. Tragedy struck when Martin's son passed away, leaving him heartbroken and drowning his sorrows. Comedian Lewis, reflecting on a 2005 interview, revealed how this event spiraled Martin deeper into depression and alcoholism. A planned comeback tour with Sammy Davis Jr. and Frank Sinatra in 1988, intended in part to help Martin get back on his feet, fizzled out. A lifelong smoker, Martin received a tough diagnosis of lung cancer in 1993. Surgery offered a chance to extend his life, but he refused. Martin retreated from the public eye in early 1995 and sadly passed away later that year on Christmas Day at his Beverly Hills home. He was 78, the cause being respiratory failure due to emphysema. Walter Brennan as Stumpy. The veteran actor Walter Brennan embodies the character of Stumpy, a cantankerous yet loyal deputy in the film. Despite being physically crippled, Stumpy proves his worth as a valuable asset to Sheriff John T. Chance in their defense of the town of Rio Bravo. In 1925, Brennan found himself in financial straits and began working as an extra in films at Universal Studios, earning $7.50 a day, equivalent to $130.3 today. He persevered and worked intermittently at Universal for the next decade. Serendipity played a role in Brennan's career when he landed what he later described as the luckiest break in the world. During a fight scene, an actor accidentally kicked him in the face, knocking out all his teeth. This incident led to Brennan wearing false teeth, which added a unique dimension to his acting. He reflected on this turn of events, saying, "I looked all right off the set, but when necessary I could take 'em out and suddenly look about 40 years older." Brennan's versatility shone through as he appeared in another Three Stooges short, Restless Nights, and a 1935 short titled Hunger Pains. Fortune smiled on Brennan when he was cast in The Wedding Night, 1935, produced by Sam Goldwyn and starring Gary Cooper. Although he started as an extra, his role was expanded during filming, leading to a contract with Goldwyn. Goldwyn often loaned Brennan's talents to other studios. MGM cast him in West Point of the Air, 1935, and he reunited with Whale in Bride of Frankenstein, 1935, where he had a brief speaking part and also worked behind the scenes as a stuntman. In 1920, Brennan married Ruth Caroline Wells, and they shared a loving marriage of 54 years. Together, they had 3 children, Arthur, Walter, and Ruth. In 1940, Brennan invested in a 12,000-acre ranch called Lightning Creek Ranch, located 20 miles north of Joseph, Oregon. He further contributed to the local community by constructing the Indian Lodge Motel, a movie theater, and a variety store in Joseph. Brennan cherished his time at the ranch, often retreating there between film roles until his passing. Some of his family members still reside in the area. Brennan's later years were spent in peaceful retirement at his ranch in Moore Park, Ventura County, California. Sadly, he passed away from emphysema on September 21, 1974, at the age of 80 in Oxnard, California. Ricky Nelson as Colorado Ryan. Before becoming a movie star, Ricky Nelson honed his musical skills. As a young teen, he tinkered with the clarinet and drums, learned a few basic guitar chords, and belted out tunes by his favorite rockabilly singers in any private space he could find, from the bathroom at home to the showers at his tennis club. Carl Perkins' music left a big mark on Nelson. He even admitted to trying to copy the sound and style of Perkins' iconic guitar solo in the hit song Blue Suede Shoes. By 1974, Ricky Nelson's teen idol status had faded, leaving his record label unsure of what to do with him. Albums like Windfall went nowhere, and he found himself performing at theme parks and taking small TV roles. Despite trying new songs like Rock and Roll Lady, success remained elusive. With several years left on his contract, MCA Records finally cut ties with Nelson. Love life wasn't much smoother sailing. In 1957, at just 17, Nelson fell for Marianne Gaba, who played his on-screen girlfriend in a few episodes of The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet. Though young love can be intense, They were both too young for a serious relationship, although Gaba admitted to some serious smooching sessions. The next year, a new flame caught Nelson's eye: 15-year-old country singer Lori Collins. They co-wrote Nelson's first song, My Gal, and she introduced him to country music legends Johnny Cash and Tex Ritter. Tragedy struck on December 31, 1985. Nelson was a passenger on a Douglas DC-3 that crashed while attempting an emergency landing. The plane, plagued by mechanical issues, caught fire due to a faulty heater, filling the cabin with toxic fumes. Both pilots survived, but all 7 passengers, including Nelson, perished. John Russell as Nathan Burdett. John Russell, the actor who brought villain Nathan Burdett to life in Rio Bravo, had been a fixture in Hollywood for years before that role. He inked a deal with 20th Century Fox in 1945 and landed his first part as a guard in a movie called A Royal Scandal. Russell spent his early Fox days taking on supporting roles. He played a lawyer in a comedy with Clifton Webb and even donned a pilot's uniform for another film. Westerns became his specialty for a while, including a part in a movie directed by the famous William A. Wellman. Looking for a change of scenery, Russell eventually signed on with Republic Pictures. There, he landed his first leading role opposite the comedic actress Judy Canova. But his biggest claim to fame came in 1958 with the television series Lawman. Russell stepped into the role of Marshal Dan Troop, a stoic lawman who took a younger deputy under his wing. The show became a hit and ran for 4 seasons. Throughout his career, Russell continued to appear in movies, mostly in secondary parts. He worked on a bunch of westerns and even reunited with an old friend, Clint Eastwood, for 3 films. In fact, Russell played the main villain in Eastwood's movie Pale Rider. He even ventured into the world of children's sci-fi television. Russell donned blue makeup to play an alien commander on a show called Jason of Star Command. Sadly, John Russell passed away in 1991 from complications of emphysema. He was married to Renata Titus and had begun his acting career back in 1943. Ward Bond as Pat Wheeler. Ward Bond, the actor who brought Pat Wheeler to life, was a familiar face in films by legendary directors John Ford and Frank Capra. He appeared in classics like The Searchers, It's a Wonderful Life, and Fort Apache. In fact, Bond teamed up with Ford a whopping 25 times. Bond later became a television star, taking the lead role in the popular Western series Wagon Train. This show was actually inspired by an earlier movie called Wagon Master, which also featured Bond. In Wagon Train, Bond played the tough but tender trail master, Major Seth Adams. Back in the 1940s, Bond belonged to a group called the Motion Picture Alliance for the Preservation of American Ideals. This group aimed to keep communist influence out of Hollywood movies. Ward Bond was married twice. His first marriage ended in divorce in 1944, and he remarried in 1954. Sadly, Bond passed away unexpectedly in 1960 from a heart attack while he was in Dallas with his wife. His close friend John Wayne even spoke at his funeral. In a strange twist of fate, country singer Johnny Horton also died in a car accident in Texas on the same day. A rumor spread that Horton was on his way to meet Bond about a role on Wagon Train, but this wasn't true. Bond was actually in Dallas for a football game. Pedro Gonzalez as Carlos Rabante. They say Pedro Gonzalez brought the character of Carlos Rabante to life on screen. His folks were in the performing arts. His dad a trumpet player, his mom a dancer. He even had an acting brother, Jose Gonzalez, though their time together ended in 2000. School wasn't in the cards for Pedro. Instead, he joined the family act, Las Perlitas, at the tender age of 7, touring Southwest Texas. The downside: he never quite mastered reading and writing. Because of that, memorizing lines was a challenge. His solution? His wife became his own personal audiobook, reading scripts aloud for him. He married young at 17 and even served in the U.S. Army during World War II, driving for the troops. After the war, He took his comedic talents to Spanish-speaking audiences through stand-up routines. Groucho Marx's You Bet Your Life quiz show catapulted him into the spotlight in 1953. Back then, he went by Ramiro G. Gonzalez, and his quick wit with Groucho stole the show. When Groucho asked about the G, Pedro, as we'll call him now, explained his unique family situation. Both parents were Gonzalez before they tied the knot. John Wayne, impressed by Pedro's appearance, cast him in several films for comic relief, including The High and the Mighty, Rio Bravo, and Hellfighters. Television beckoned, too, with guest spots on shows like The Adventures of Ozzie and Harriet, Gunsmoke, and Wanted Dead or Alive. He even landed a role in Jerry Lewis's Hook, Line, and Sinker. Wayne even tried to get a TV series going just for Pedro, but it never quite materialized. His voice acting talents weren't to be ignored either. He played characters alongside Mel Blanc in some Speedy Gonzalez cartoons like A Taste of Catnip and Go Go Amigo, credited simply as Gonzalez Gonzalez. Some criticized Pedro's roles for reinforcing negative stereotypes about Hispanic men. But as Edward James Olmos said when Pedro passed away, he inspired every Latino actor. Natural Causes claimed Pedro at his home. He leaves behind his wife Leandra, their 3 children, and a legacy that extends to his grandson, actor Clifton Collins Jr., Claude Atkins as Joe Burdett. Born and raised in the Midwest, Claude Atkins brought the character of Joe Burdett to life in Rio Bravo. Hailing from Nelson, Georgia, he spent his youth in Bedford, Indiana, the son of Maud and Ernest Atkins. There's some debate about his exact birth year, but his father claimed 1926, and census records back that up, listing a 13-year-old Aubrey Atkins in 1940. World War II saw Atkins serving in the Pacific with the U.S. Army Signal Corps. After the war, he honed his acting skills, graduating with a theater arts degree from Northwestern University in 1949. He landed an early role alongside John Wayne in The Sea Chase. Later, he shared the screen with Yul Brynner and Robert Fuller in Return of the Seven, also known as Return of the Magnificent Seven and The Magnificent Seven 2. He even appeared in the film Seasons of the Heart in 1993. Atkins wasn't just about the big screen. In the late 1980s, he lent his voice to a workplace safety video series called Safety Shorts, teaching industrial employees about crucial safety measures. He even teamed up with Ron Masak for a golf instructional video featuring Tom Kite. Later in his career, he made an appearance on the TV show In the Heat of the Night, starring Carol O'Connor. Sadly, stomach cancer took Claude Atkins in Altadena, California on January 27, 1994, at the age of 67. Estelita Rodriguez as Consuelo Robante. Estelita Rodriguez, who played Consuelo Robante in Rio Bravo, began her career at a young age. At 14, she landed a contract with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, but was unfortunately let go before making a film. In 1945, she found opportunity with Republic Pictures, signing a 5-film deal. Her first movie for Republic was Mexicana, but Rodriguez reportedly disliked the experience, feeling infantilized despite having a child herself. However, that same year, she landed a role in Along the Navajo Trail, her first alongside Roy Rogers, with whom she would collaborate again in future films. During this early period of her career, Rodriguez married Mexican singer Chuchu Martinez, date unknown. They had a daughter, Nina, in 1946, but divorced a year later. In quick succession, she married actor Grant Withers, 1953-1955, Ismael Alfonso Haufs, 1956-1960, and finally Dr. Ricardo A. Pego in 1961, who remained her husband until her passing. Tragically, Estelita Pego, as she was then known, was found dead in her North Hollywood Van Nuys home in 1966 at the young age of 37. The cause of death remains a mystery, with some reports suggesting complications from influenza and others leaving it unknown. Walter Barnes as Charlie. The charismatic Walter Barnes brings to life the character of Charlie the bartender in the film. Barnes earned the nickname Piggy from a childhood incident where he caught a piglet. A talented athlete, he excelled in football at Parkersburg High School, being part of the unbeaten 1938 team and playing in the 1939 North-South game. Barnes served his country honorably during World War II as a sergeant in the United States Army. After the war, he enrolled at Louisiana State University, LSU, not only as a football player, but also as a college weightlifting champion. Upon graduation, he joined the Philadelphia Eagles football team as a guard before transitioning into coaching at Columbia University and Arizona State University. Barnes's journey into acting began with appearances on the local Philadelphia television show The Eagle's Nest. His talent caught the eye of WCAU television, leading to more local show appearances. His connection with Walt Silver, a producer for Warner Brothers Television, opened doors to several television and film roles. Some of his notable appearances include Bronco, Gunsmoke, Cheyenne, Bonanza, and Have Gun, Will Travel as Mason Enfield in S1E32, 1958. He also left his mark on Death Valley Days. Seeking broader horizons and larger roles, Barnes joined the wave of American actors moving to Italy in the early 1960s. His talent was recognized by Kirk Douglas, who recommended him for a role in the television spin-off Tales of the Vikings, produced by Douglas's production company in Germany. From 1960 to 1969, Barnes thrived in pirate movies, Karl May film adaptations, and spaghetti westerns. Returning to the United States in 1969, Barnes continued to build his resume with appearances in more films and television series, including The High Chaparral. His friendship with Clint Eastwood, forged during their Rawhide days, led to multiple roles in Eastwood's films. Barnes bid farewell to acting in 1987 and later faced health challenges due to diabetes. He passed away on January 6, 1998, leaving behind a legacy that includes his daughter, German former actress Lara Wendell Bing Russell as cowboy murdered in Saloon. Bing Russell played a memorable role as a cowboy gunned down by Joe Burdette at the beginning of a movie. Later, in 1963, he landed the part of John Quigley, a Chicago gangster, on the Jack Webb CBS anthology series G.E. True in the episode 5 Tickets to Hell. The story followed Quigley's journey to Chihuahua, Mexico, where he stole $500,000 from the mint and killed 7 people in the process. Lieutenant Juan Garcia, Carlos Romero, of the police, tracked down Quigley and his accomplices. Barbara Luna also made an appearance in the episode. Bing Russell owned the Portland Mavericks, 1973-1977, a unique independent team in the short-season Northwest League. Russell believed some players deserved another shot at the game, so he kept a larger roster of 30 players. Fun was his guiding principle. He created a ballpark free of corporate sponsorships, hired Lanny Moss, the first female general manager in professional baseball, and appointed the first Asian-American GM manager. Russell's team achieved record-breaking attendance in minor league history, but fell short of the 1977 pennant, which went to the Bellingham Mariners. This reignited Major League Baseball's interest in Portland. The Albuquerque, New Mexico franchise relocated to Portland for 9 years, reviving the Class A Portland Beavers name. The Portland area regained its team, but after Russell took the matter to arbitration, they were required to pay him $206,000, the largest payout in minor league history for territorial rights. Former major leaguers and aspiring players flocked to his open June tryouts, a chance for anyone to chase their dream. The team and archival footage of Russell were featured in the documentary The Battered Bastards of Baseball, 2014. While working at Teddy's restaurant in Newport, New Hampshire in 1945, a co-worker introduced Russell to his future wife, Louise "Lulu" Crone. Russell and Crone married in 1946 and had 4 children together, including the famous actor Kurt Russell. Sadly, Bing Russell passed away from complications of cancer on April 8, 2003, in Thousand Oaks, California. James B. Leong as Bert. While James B. Leong appeared on screen as Bert in a particular film, his journey began in Shanghai, China. Immigrating to the United States with his family at a young age, Leong eventually found himself in Hollywood. There, he initially took on technical director roles, working with renowned filmmakers like D.W. Griffith and Wesley Ruggles. Disillusioned by stereotypical portrayals of Chinese characters as villains, Leong took matters into his own hands. In 1919, he founded James B. Leong Productions, later renamed Hua Ming Motion Picture Company. This company aimed to showcase authentic Chinese life. Leong's directorial debut came in 1921 with the film Lotus Blossom. He envisioned a steady output of 4 films per year, but this ambition never fully materialized. A planned follow-up titled The Unbroken Promise never came to fruition. Leong continued to act in Hollywood, accepting smaller parts while maintaining his technical director and dialect coach positions. During the 1940s, he ventured into silk farming as a source of income. In 1934, he married Agatha Tarwater, and together they had a son. Finally, in 1958, Leong officially became a U.S. citizen. Harry Carey Jr. as Harold. Harry Carey Jr. took on the role of Harold in a movie, but acting wasn't his first choice. After leaving the Navy, he tried, and failed, to become a singer. Eventually, he found himself working alongside his father in the John Ford Stock Company. John Ford, a close friend of Carey's, became a frequent collaborator. Carey appeared in many of Ford's acclaimed films, including Three Godfathers, 1948, She Wore a Yellow Ribbon, 1949, The Searchers, 1956, and Cheyenne Autumn, 1964. In 1972, Carey took a more comedic turn, playing the character Holy Joe in the spaghetti western Man of the East by Terence Hill. The 1980s saw him portray George Arthur in The Long Riders, a film about the Jesse James gang, followed by Mr. Anderson in Gremlins, 1984, and the aging biker Red in Mask, 1985. Later, Carey participated in Tales from the Set, a video series featuring interviews about his colleagues. The series premiered at France's Epona Festival in 2007. In 2009, he collaborated with Clyde Lucas to complete Trader Horn: The Journey Back, a project reminiscing about the 1931 adventure film starring his father. He also attempted to produce a feature film adaptation of Tom Milstead's 1958 book Comanche Stallion, a project John Ford had considered in the early 1960s. Harry Carey Jr. married Marilyn Fix, the daughter of actor Paul Fix, in 1944. Together they had 4 children, Stephen, Melinda, Thomas, and Patricia. His autobiography, Company of Heroes: My Life as an Actor in the John Ford Stock Company, was published in 1996. Sadly, Harry Carey Jr. passed away of natural causes in a hospice on December 27, 2012 in Santa Barbara at the age of 91. He is survived by his wife, who passed away in 2017, a son, 2 daughters, and 3 grandchildren. Malcolm ATterberry as Jake. Though credited as Jake in a film, Malcolm ATterberry's journey began in Philadelphia. Born Malcolm McLeod Jr., he had siblings, an older sister Elizabeth, a twin brother Norman, and younger brother George. His mother remarried after his biological father passed away. Her new husband, General William Wallace ATterberry, was president of the Pennsylvania Railroad. Malcolm gained a half-brother, William Wallace Jr., through this union. ATterberry's love for performing started early. In 1928, he sang bass in a quartet on Philadelphia radio station WLET. Soon after, in 1930, he became the program director there, eventually moving on to become business manager of another station, What? Theater was another passion. ATterberry owned and ran 2 playhouses in New York's Adirondack Mountains, the Tamarack Playhouse and the Albany Playhouse Co. He even graced Broadway, appearing as Scanlon in the original cast of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. Television became a regular part of his career. ATterberry appeared in multiple episodes of the CBS detective series Perry Mason during the late 1950s and early 1960s. Interestingly, he portrayed the murderer on 3 occasions. One such episode was The Case of the Angry Mourner, 1957, where he played Sam Burris. In 1937, Malcolm ATterberry married Ellen Ayres Hardees, daughter of a judge and sister of a future district attorney. They remained together until Ellen's passing in 1994. Malcolm himself passed away in Beverly Hills due to natural causes in 1992. Angie Dickinson as Feathers. Playing Feathers, a saloon singer with a surprising amount of grit, Angie Dickinson found herself right in the middle of a thrilling showdown. Sheriff John T. Chance, played by John Wayne, needed her help to defend the jail from a gang of outlaws. Feathers was a fascinating character, both tough and tender. Her presence added a spark of romance and complexity to the story. Dickinson almost won a Miss America competition, which caught the eye of a talent scout. He landed her a role on The Jimmy Durante Show. This exposure led a television producer to suggest she pursue acting. After honing her skills, Dickinson began appearing on variety shows like the Colgate Comedy Hour. She also struck up a lifelong friendship with the legendary Frank Sinatra. Dickinson's undeniable beauty was recognized by Playboy magazine, who ranked her 42nd on their list of the 100 sexiest stars of the century in 1999. A few years later, TV Guide placed her 3rd on their 50 sexiest television stars of all time list. Dickinson's final acting credit came in 2009 with the Hallmark Channel movie Mending Fences, co-starring Laura Leighton. In 2023, Dickinson revealed a long-term romance with Frank Sinatra. She called him the love of her life and one of the most captivating men ever. Dickinson also dated musician Billy Vera in the 1980s, even appearing in his music video for I Can Take Care of Myself. The 1990s saw her involved with radio and television personality Larry King. Dickinson has spoken openly about her political views, identifying as a Democrat. She even campaigned for John F. Kennedy's presidential bid in 1960 and supported Lyndon B. Johnson in 1964. It's fantastic to see the Rio Bravo cast in their heyday, but it also serves as a thoughtful reminder that time marches on. However, that doesn't diminish their brilliance. The next time you revisit Rio Bravo, savor the incredible talent on screen. These actors may no longer be with us, but their performances will continue to captivate audiences for years to come. Thanks for joining me on this trip down memory lane. If you have a favorite Rio Bravo moment, be sure to share it in the comments below.